to the MarketMatch Marketing Mojo, our very first inaugural ROIQ series. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Eric Galliano. I'll be presenting with Aaron Gregerson. And we're very excited about these Marketing Mojos. As many of you know, MarketMatch is a marketing firm solely dedicated to community banks and credit unions. And we wanted to provide a vehicle to share some of the intellectual property, some of the things that we see as an organization with banks and credit unions all across the country. And what that culminated in is the creation of this Marketing Mojo series, a quarterly free webinar that you and your team can participate in on different topics that'll be important to your financial institutions throughout the year. Now, the very first session here, as you saw from the invitations, is strategic planning. We all know that 'tis the season. We're starting to have clients prepare for their strategic planning sessions. We're actively engaged with several clients in their strategic planning sessions right now. And so before you take the weekend of golf with your board, or however you structure your own personal strategic planning sessions, wanted to provide some of our thoughts on when we facilitate or when we participate with our clients, or what we see that our clients do that are successful, so that you can make the most of this time and walk away with all of the tools that you need to have that strategic planning session be beneficial to your organization. But we'll start off with who you're listening to today. Again, my name is Eric Galliano. I'm the Executive Vice President here at MarketMatch. I come into MarketMatch with traditional advertising agency experience, but came into the financial world when I was a Vice President of Marketing with my credit union here in Ohio. Worked with MarketMatch actually as a client for quite some time, and we agreed on many philosophies, and so one day when the opportunity presented itself, came on board with MarketMatch about 10 or 12 years ago, and have been here helping out community banks and credit unions ever since. And the other handsome face you see there on the screen is Aaron Gregerson. And Aaron, I'll let you go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Eric. And as Eric said, my name is Aaron Gregerson, and I am the Vice President of Client Management here at MarketMatch. I've been working in the financial industry for a little over 10 years now, starting with some experience at a regional bank and moving over to the credit union side, and then eventually getting some experience on the agency side with a firm that really focused on digital strategies and content marketing before coming to MarketMatch. And so I have, a good pedigree of experience in the financial industry, and I've been in a lot of your seats, wearing the hats that you do, understanding what kind of goes into the day in, day out of being a marketing manager or director, and what stresses are in the industry right now. And so with that, that we bring a lot of that experience into a session like this with talking about strategic planning. And so we're very excited, like Eric said, to present this ROIQ series on strategic planning. And so I'll turn it back over to Eric to get us started.
All right, thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it. All right, so for the next 45 minutes or so, these are the topics we're going to be working on as far as strategic planning is concerned. While you're looking at the agenda, I do want to stress that this is your session. We're doing this for you. So I would ask that any questions or comments, any points of clarification or what have you, that you use the chat function in the bottom right-hand corner of your GoToMeeting control panel. And if we can get to the question immediately, we certainly will. If not, we'll hold those chat questions up till the end and address them at the end of the presentation. But please, the the ideas of many are definitely outweigh the ideas of the few. So please share your thoughts, your experiences, your questions in that chat function in the control panel. So kicking off planning for your planning session, we recommend that you spend some time, quite a bit of time, actually before you sit in the room with your management team and your board, doing a little pre-planning homework, if you will. Some of the most important meetings that you're going to have during the planning process are going to be the management meetings that you hold immediately before your strategic planning session and immediately after. And so with your pre-planning homework, we ask that you take a look at the handful of initiatives that you did this year. Pre-planning is a time to soul search and think about what really went well this year and what maybe you might want to spend some resources doing other things. Because so oftentimes we see folks jump into strategic planning and they want to start adding new stuff to the to-do list. I mean, that's the fun part, right? That's why we're here. But what you're doing right now is likely not completely off base. So in order to manage your resources, sit down with your management team and self-reflect a little bit. Again, take a look at those handful of initiatives, those most important initiatives from this year, and identify what was successful. Can those initiatives or some of those initiatives be more successful if you were to tweak them in some way? Or they're just simply not going to work no matter what you do, and we completely scrap them. And then as you're taking a look at each initiative, I think it's important in your management meeting to talk about the resources. Are we allotting reasonable resources, or does the initiative demand reasonable resources for what we get in the long run? So your pre-planning homework is going to involve your entire management team, marketing, finance, HR. What we want to do is we want to take a look at a global, industry-wide perspective. And what this will do is it'll help us to focus our internal management meetings prior to the big show, prior to what we're going to do when we get to our strategic planning session itself.
So to get us started, we need to consider some first things first. And as Eric mentioned, we really want to bring everybody into the room on this, from the executive team to finance and lending, operations, joining marketing in the strategic planning effort. And so that begins with getting everybody else on the same page. And strategic planning affects all levels of the organization, of course, but just in different ways. And as each area of the organization will have their own responsibilities leading into the strategic planning session, they're going to need to consider different things with their pre-planning homework. So for instance, each manager is going to be responsible for their pre-planning homework, whereas the folks from finance and lending and operations are going to want to take some time to review the initiatives and the items from last year's planning session, what changes need to be made, and what needs to be addressed moving forward. As Eric was talking about, what initiatives are really working well from last year's planning session, and what initiatives probably need to be scrubbed because they're just not working out for the organization. Marketing may have one of the larger chunks of responsibility in the strategic planning session just because of everything that needs to be done before going into a session like this. As marketers, we need to be responsible for providing a market and competitive overview and how that's changed in the past 1, 5, even 10 years, and then looking ahead to the next 1 to 3 years and taking a look at how the organization fits in with that. Marketing also needs to report on any shifts or changes in the customer profiles or your prospective customer profiles? Are you target marketing the way that you really should be based on how consumer sentiment is changing? And this will help hone the session in on where your organization needs to grow and go in the next year and beyond, as well as putting some strategy behind your brand, making sure the brand message fits in with what you're currently doing and what you're going to be doing moving forward. I think oftentimes during strategic planning season, the brand is often forgotten because so many times we are jumping onto the next trend too quickly and not considering how our customers or members are going to react to that. But you can't have all of the answers without asking the right questions. So in the next few slides, we're going to focus on different areas of strategic planning and highlight some of the questions that need to be asked as starting points of discussion with everybody from the group. So the first area that we're going to talk about is organizational effectiveness. And this is a great jumping off point for the entire planning session because it really does encompass everything. So we're addressing such items as consumer trends, which ones are driving your business today, and are they driving it in the direction that you see the organization going? Or does the big picture direction look a lot different from where you're headed right now? Is there a fork in the road? This will lead straight into a great discussion around targeting and how you define your consumer groups that your bank or credit union is going after. Are you selecting the right characteristics to measure your target marketing effectively? And are those characteristics delivering high value for the organization? When I worked in the financial industry at the financial institutions that I had mentioned previously, in preparation for strategic planning, the marketing group would always pull the most recent data from our customers and compare that to last year's information. So we'd model out year after year what our customer base looked like and note any changes and compare that to how our customer base was changing and how our segments were changing. Did we need to adjust our marketing strategy in the coming year? Doing this allowed us to see a couple of things. One, if our marketing was still in line with how our customers wanted to be communicated and marketed to, and two, what adjustments, if any, needed to be taken care of so that we could move forward successfully into the next year.
Yeah, it's funny that you did that, Eric, because the same thing happened at my credit union. My very first year as a marketing VP of marketing at my credit union, sitting in my very first strategic planning session, I saw that it was essentially just an extended board meeting. And so as we were looking at the agenda of what we're going to be doing, so I asked our CEO and our chairperson to allow me the opportunity as a marketer to present to everybody for 15 or 20 minutes to get the meeting off the ground. And what we talked about were exactly just like Aaron said, talking about our brands, talking about our communications, talking about the market. Because yeah, I know we're biased, and many of you on the line are marketers, so you're biased too. But really, I think that the marketing individual for your organization is one of the most important people in the room because they are the eyes and the voice of your customers or your members. If you think about your management team, finance is great with the numbers, the CEO cares about the direction of the whole organization, operations make sure that things go smooth and efficient behind the scenes. It's marketing whose job it is to understand what our customers and what our members are thinking about. So the second set of questions we look at are our customer relationship depth. And so we want to be, if we're going to be doing strategic planning correctly, we want to spend some time not just talking about ourselves, but talking about those that matter most. And it's those folks who walk in the front door. Spend some time looking at yourself through your customer or your member's eyes from the standpoint of your products and your services and your brand position. And these are questions that could be asked individually or they could be part of that pre-planning session. Because think about it, we want to be seen as less of a commodity and less of just a free checking and everybody has loans. We need to really realize what matters most for the folks who are walking through our front door. And let's be honest, most of the time when they walk in, it is transactional. People just want us to get them in and out the door quick and don't screw up their balances. But it's that small percentage of the time when they really, really need us, when we have the best opportunity with our customers and our members. And those typically happen in very specific milestones. You'll notice on the slide, we use the word life stage all over this slide. And that's because that's really, in our opinion, one of the best opportunities for us to connect with our customer base. It's when they have a child and all of a sudden everything changes. They need to get a minivan. They need to start saving for college where they hadn't before. When a couple gets married, they come into it with different checking accounts, and oftentimes they go to a joint checking account. If it's a different financial institutions, one's going to win and one's going to lose. And don't you want to be the first one there when you understand that life stage to ask for that checking account? One of the things that we did for a client of ours, and you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner here, is we used a life stage approach that came out of these types of discussions, and took a personal loan. Personal loans are so general and so generic, it can be used for anything in the world, right? We wanted to give them a purpose, and we used life stage to do that. We created a self-improvement loan for those who may need braces. We created a wedding loan for the honeymoon to pay for the event itself. We have a summer fun loan, a honey-do list loan, but really it's all the same account code. It's just ways that we package it and position it in meaningful ways to our customer base. And like I said, that particular initiative came out of conversations just like this, asking questions about our customer base and how we impacted them.
So the next area that any strategic planning session really needs to talk about is the money coming in the door for next year, revenue generation. This is, of course, the finance team's favorite part of the whole session, because this delivers straight into their basket of goodies. And the way we see it, there are 4 key factors affecting revenue and how it needs to be addressed during strategic planning. And those are sales, competition, pricing, and your brand loyalty. And I want to talk about the last of these items first and then work our way back up, because I'm fun and do things in reverse that way. But brand loyalty in today's market of plentiful and ubiquitous information that's out there on the internet is becoming harder and harder to come by. It's making it harder for us to communicate and measure the great service that community banks and credit unions provide to our customers and members. And it's putting that conversation about revenue in a very different perspective, because you need to ask yourselves, how do our customers perceive our brand, and are they more or less willing to be brand loyal? And if the answer is less loyal, how do we improve upon that? And I think back to discussions that I've had with representatives of different banks and credit unions over the years, talking about how their customers or their members are more or less brand loyal because of the word that always comes up is service. And my question back to them always is, how do we measure that? Because if you take a look at the numbers, the revenue isn't really speaking to that. So this dovetails very nicely into a conversation about pricing. And how does pricing affect quote unquote brand loyalty with your customers and members? And speaking about having conversations with representatives of banks and credit unions, I can recall numerous conversations with people from lending departments that feel as though brand loyalty is really driven out of this conversation about pricing, especially on loans. Moreover, questions around pricing in strategic planning sessions need to take into consideration any feedback that you've received from your customers or members on deposits and loans, and the value that your customers feel that they are getting from your organization from the pricing that you are delivering. You know, I think especially in the rate market that we are in right now, especially if you consider the deposit side, you know, perhaps many of your older customers and members are not feeling that value because, you know, CDs aren't paying what they used to. And so is that affecting the way they view your organization and your brand? Lastly, revenue generation may have the most to do with these first two items, sales and competition. Now, strategic planning is a great time to take a look at the organization's sales process and your coaching process and ask yourself if the process is working. These questions can also be addressed and answered by looking at your competition. So what other banks and credit unions in your area are seeing success with their process? And if it's more success than you feel you're experiencing, what's different about their organization and what they're doing? And how much is their brand playing a part of their success to drive that revenue in the sales and competition discussion? And so these 4 points together, discussing these, you know, kind of at a higher level in strategic planning will really help drive the conversation about revenue generation for the next year.
Wow. Well, we've talked about organization. We've talked about our customers. We focused on the bottom line. The last piece of the puzzle really is to talk about your market position. So what are the trends in sharing your market? Is there money in motion in your marketplace? Are there certain institutions who have gained or lost a significant amount of market share? What is the perception of your institution in the market? Do you understand why people bank with you? Do you understand why people don't bank with you? What's going on with your competition? Does your staff know what's going on with your competition? Again, we talked about the importance of marketing. In addition to being the customer's voice, marketing is also the department that's responsible for keeping tabs on the competition. Do you have your marketing department in your ALCO meetings? I would hope that your marketing department attends all of your senior staff meetings. They're the folks who should know and should be able to report on competitive trends. Are they running specials? What is their pricing looking like? Again, market share should be kept an eye on a regular basis through FDIC reporting, through NCUA reporting. So keeping a tight rein on that. One way that we keep an eye on the market with some of our clients is through mapping. And that's simply identifying where customers live, what products customers have, and what that looks like on a map. And then thirdly, what balances do they carry? And what you see on the screen there is a sample of a map that we've done for another client. But we want to take a look at where your customers are and what balances look like as they relate to where your branches lie. And you'll start to see some pockets of opportunity. Are certain branches stronger in areas? Do you have a branch that really, from an objective standpoint, might be better suited to maybe be responsible for the loans, where there's another branch that would be responsible for the deposits? And now all of a sudden we're working together as a whole, not looking at one objective for the whole bank, but taking a look market by market. As we ask all these questions too, another great exercise for you to have with your staff is the wouldn't it be great exercise. As you get through the 4 levels of organization, customer, revenue, and market, have a little bit of fun. And we call it the what if exercise. This is where you get some of your crazy ideas. What if we were to have a mobile branch? What if we were to use a 3D technology and have a smaller branch that we can actually access remotely? We wouldn't have to staff, or we wouldn't have to staff so much. What if, whatever. And each one of your departments can share those what if questions and put those up on the board. Now, I know that there's a lot of questions on these slides, and we didn't address each one of the individual questions for every element. if you would like the slides, we will provide contact information at the end of the session. These are certainly things that we can share with you. Again, we're also recording this session, and we'll put this up on our MarketMatch website in a day or two. So moving forward, now we've asked a lot of questions, but really the point of the day, or the point of the weekend, our strategic planning weekend, is to really set a path for next year, right? So we want to identify, how will we measure success? What will we focus on, and what will we put our resources towards? And that's the point, really, of this entire exercise. The most important thing that you can do, if you really want to walk out of the room, is with a short list of the most relevant objectives for you to focus on for the year. So to do that, like by now we've had our pre-planning homework. By now we've asked a lot of very, very tough questions, and now we've got in our strategic planning room, we have 4 walls filled with giant Post-it notes, right, with all kinds of great ideas on them from all of the discussions we've had so far. Now it's time to start to whittle. We've got an idea from our pre-planning homework of what ideas, what objectives we want to carry over from this year, and then based on remaining bandwidth, what do we do now? So once we start focusing on those organizational objectives, we can pull ourselves out of the weeds. This is not a time really for you to say, how will we do something? This is a time for you to say, what should we do? When we're focusing on objectives, I don't want the team to get, it's so easy for us to slip into tactics. This isn't that time. This is the time for us to get up there 30,000 foot level and look at what are the at the end of the year, this is your scorecard. At the end of the year, if we're successful in doing 3 to 5 things, then we've rocked it. We've grown our institution, we want to grow it. We've done exactly what we want to do. And that's what the idea of this particular exercise is right now. Let's focus, let's whittle, let's narrow down our ideas to the 5 or so items that are going to most impact the bottom line for our organization. Now, focus, momentum, results. It's not just MarketMatch's tagline. it's our philosophy. As a matter of fact, we're not too far from having focus, momentum, results tattooed on every single MarketMatch employee. And the reason this is so important to us is because we know that there are, in any given day, a billion strategies that you guys can focus on, right? The trick is to identify the handful of strategies that you should focus on. What is going to be most impactful? Now, we've had a lot of great, so for our planning session, we've done our homework, we've had a lot of great conversation, we've put a lot of great ideas up, we've narrowed things down to the 3 or 5 or maybe 6 things that are most important for us to do. We want to focus on now, how are we going to do that? And there's really a couple of different ways that we can handle this. We've seen it handled with different clients and different structures, different ways. This chart that you have up on your slide right now, on the slide right now, this is, it's simple. It's only 9 little boxes, but it can take you 1 to 2 to 3 days to fill out, maybe even a few weeks. What we want to do is start to break down each of the individual objectives and start to determine what we're going to do about it. And there's, like I said, there's 2 ways that we've seen this work. One is in a 2-day planning session, which is pretty standard. We focus on the objectives on day 1, and then we focus solely on this chart on day 2. Now, what might be even a better way to do this, and the way that we typically recommend, is while you have your board, and some of the folks from outside of the executive management team, let's stay high level and let's strictly focus on objectives. And then once we leave that room, your very first senior management team meeting is focused right here. And so when you get into the weeds, you're getting into the weeds for those people who are going to be accountable for making things happen. And what you're seeing here in this chart, which I hope is fairly self-explanatory, but you're taking each objective and you're defining what you need to make them happen from three different ways: either acquiring new business through that objective, retaining existing business through that objective, or growing existing relationships. Now, there may be some more operational type of objectives that don't necessarily fit into acquiring new business, retaining existing business, growing existing business. And in those cases, we look at three different questions, and that is, what do we want to do more of? What do we want to continue doing the same way? And what do we want to do less of? So again, depending on what fits better on that left-hand column, those are the two ways that we see this chart filling out. And from there, if you strictly focus on how are we going to get it done, if we have, and you can see automatically, if we have 3 tactics to acquire, 3 tactics to retain, 3 tactics to grow, all of a sudden now for the year, to accomplish objective 1, we're looking at minimum of 9 different things that we need to accomplish. So right away, you can see that our calendars are going to get filled up pretty quickly, which is why we want to make sure that from an objective standpoint, we're whittling as much as we can to 3, like I keep saying, maybe 5. You want to keep in mind your bandwidth. So hopefully that makes sense. If there are any questions on how that works, again, your chat function is in the bottom right-hand corner of your control panel. But this we see taking several days, to have your management team work through those. And then once you've got the chart, once you know what you're going to do, how you're going to achieve those objectives that we've spent so much time laying out. Well, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Again, this is a brainstorm time. This is a good time for us to, you can write down as many ideas in each one of those boxes as makes sense, and then start to whittle them down to the handful of things that make the most sense. So this chart at one point in time in its evolution may end up having 10, 20 tactics per box. Then it's your job to start to take some of those things out and really circle those 3 to 5 tactics that make the most sense. And I would also ask, too, that this is a great opportunity, and this is the reason we have it in the management meeting, so that we have all the different brains and ideas around the table, is this is a time for us to be connected. This is a time, if we can have a couple of tactics that gain synergy for the organization, that cross business lines, that bring all of your business units to the table and help, if we have a tactic that can help multiple business lines, isn't that really what we're trying to do? So that we're taking our resources and actually seeing gain across multiple business lines in the organization. Now, again, once we have all those tactics identified, we've got them all whittled down, we know what's going to happen, then we need to track, we need to analyze. Having a list of things to do is not enough. I have seen organizations, financial institutions, that at the end of their planning session, they have a wonderful list of things to do. And at the near the end of the 4th quarter, they dust off that list of things to do, and they ask, okay, what did we do? That's not strategic. That's not a plan. What we want to make sure is with every single management meeting, from your strategic from your strategic planning session till the end of the year, we're tracking. We know how we're going to identify what's successful. Everything's going to be measurable. We want to, nothing's going to happen if you don't assign accountabilities. Who's responsible for getting stuff done? When are they responsible for getting it done? I would caution, and I know that many folks are going to want to fall into this trap, don't make all of your deadlines in the 1st and the 4th quarter. The hot things we want to get done right away, and the things that aren't maybe quite so hot, we can wait till December. You want to make sure that your deadlines are spread out every month. There's 12 months. Use them, and then be able to report on those. Monthly we can do general reports. Quarterly we can start to get a little bit maybe more detailed. But this will tell you if you're on track to hit those objectives by the end of the year. Now, the nice thing about this is, and if you think about everything we've done up to this point, we know our objectives, we know the tactics, and now we're going to be able to report on them, and we know who's accountable. It's a way of taking, you saw the chart. There's going to be a lot of tactics. We can spread that out across the whole management team, and then let those managers spread some of those tactics out across their direct reports. But once we have that, now we've got a structure for every one of your management meetings for the rest of the year, don't we? Sure, you're going to have your week to week, your month to month issues that you're going to need to discuss, things that are going to come up. But now each manager knows that we're going to start each meeting out with, these are the things I was accountable for, these are the things that I was responsible for this month, and here's where we are on them. And I kind of skipped over it on the last slide, but once you have that chart, that graph, all filled out, it also helps to focus. We joke around a lot in the marketing side of having CEO management. One of the things is, as a marketing VP, I was always most afraid of was my CEO going to a conference, because they were always going to get some kind of great idea, and they were going to come back and they were going to say that mandate something that we absolutely had to do. We had to add to all of our to-do list, but it was completely off strategy and didn't touch on any of the 3 or 4 objectives that we set out for the evening. As new things pop up, as new fires hit, what have you, if it doesn't fall into your chart of your main objectives, then it helps you to prioritize. It helps you to put things into perspective of, what do we need to turn everything upside down for, and or what can we just maybe put on the list for things to do next year. So with a few minutes left in the session, we have now talked about how we're going to soul search for our success for this year. We've determined what we want to carry over for next year. We've heard from all of your management team. We've asked a lot of really tough questions, had a lot of really great ideas, and generated just a ton of great ideas to grow the institution. And then we've taken all those ideas and we've whittled them down to the most important things to focus on. We've determined how we're going to get our most important objectives done, and we've assigned accountabilities, measurements, and timelines. And that, my friends, is a successful plan. That's what we want to have ready to go, ready to have you grow your institution in 2016. Now, this is the time for clarification. If there's any questions from anybody, again, please use the chat button. You can also you could raise your hand. We can unmute you. You can ask things specifically of our presenters. And as so often happens on these webinars, people are very, very quiet. But you're here, so appreciate you participating. Again, this is your time, and if a question comes up after the session, please feel free to reach out to us. Our website is MarketMatch.com. Like I said, this is just the first Marketing Mojo, and hopefully you were able to get some good ideas from it. Hopefully it will help you to look at your planning session here in the next few weeks or months a little differently, and maybe structure this particular planning session or maybe next year's session a little bit better, so that you're walking away with a plan, with a list of things to do. Our next session will be on December 3rd. We know that oftentimes that fourth quarter things sometimes slow down a little bit. We're hoping that you can carve out some time on Thursday, December 3rd at noon to talk about millennials. It seems like every time we post a blog that mentions millennials, that it gets twice the readership than anything else does. And I will at this point put a plug in for our blog at www.marketmatch.com. We share every week 1 or 2 or 3 articles on bank and credit union marketing, and sometimes just in marketing in general. And we would recommend that you go there. That's another free resource to sort of share some ideas with you. If you would mark that down, you will all certainly receive invitations in advance. But we do appreciate you coming out. Again, marketmatch.com is the way you can reach us. My name is Eric Galliano, and on behalf of Aaron Gregerson, we thank you for participating this afternoon, and hopefully your planning sessions this year will be much more impactful. Thank you again for joining us. Oh, one last thing, we did record this, and it'll also be on MarketMatch.com in the next few days. So if you would like to share this with any of your management team, take a look at it again yourself. Please look to the website and look for the link to this particular recording. So not seeing any additional chats, not seeing any additional hand raises. I'll thank you all. Thank you again for participating, and we'll see you all on December 3rd. Take care, everybody.